After 60 years of quiet observance, Robert Duvall has finally decided to speak. For over 6 decades, Duvall has been a towering figure in the film industry, celebrated for his unwavering integrity and exceptional talent, a performer admired by both the public and his peers. Known for his seriousness, discipline, and a famously reserved nature, he epitomized the pinnacle of professionalism. Yet, beneath that placid surface, old grievances had quietly persisted. Memories he had long kept buried until this very moment. In a revelation that has sent tremors through Hollywood, the 94-year-old Academy Award winner, an artist who played a pivotal role in shaping some of cinema's most enduring achievements, has at last voiced the sentiments he held back for a lifetime. The names of 4 individuals he simply could not abide. "I have remained silent for decades," Duvall reportedly stated, "but at my age, what am I waiting for? It's time to share the truth." This disclosure has left the industry astounded, not solely for the content of his words, but for the identity of the speaker, Robert Duvall, the man long regarded as Hollywood's ultimate gentleman, an actor seemingly incapable of a harsh remark. For him to break his silence after half a century suggests that these conflicts ran so deep they continued to haunt him well into his 10th decade of life. Sources close to the actor have indicated that these tensions extended far beyond simple personality clashes. They significantly impacted productions, reshaped performances, and in some instances, even altered the trajectory of classic films we thought we knew. Now, with Duvall finally choosing to air his grievances, Hollywood awaits with palpable anticipation. Who are these 4 individuals, and what truths have remained hidden beneath the polished smiles and celebrated legacies of those legendary film sets? Before unveiling the 4 names that have sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, it is essential to understand the profound reasons behind Robert Duvall's decision, a man known for his privacy and discipline, to shatter his lifelong vow of silence. Those closest to him suggest this decision was not instigated by a singular outburst of anger or regret, but rather by a deeper introspection, a contemplation often accompanying the later stages of life. A longtime associate who requested anonymity revealed, Robert reached a point where he felt the historical narrative required correction. He has spent years observing Hollywood documentaries and retrospectives present entirely fabricated accounts, transforming acrimonious and toxic relationships into tales of camaraderie and friendship. This distortion bothered him far more than people comprehended. The final impetus, it is said, came during a recent ceremony honoring Duvall's distinguished career. Seated in the audience, he witnessed montages showcasing his most iconic roles, scenes featuring actors he had secretly detested for years. All the while, Duvall recounted to his interviewer the narrative spoke of wonderful collaborations and deep friendships that simply never existed. I sat there listening to all that revisionist nonsense about mutual respect and creative partnerships, while remembering how one of those individuals used to deliberately step on my lines to ruin takes, and another attempted to get me fired from what became one of my signature roles. At 94, with an Academy Award, numerous nominations, and an enduring legacy firmly established, Duvall felt no compelling reason to perpetuate Hollywood's carefully constructed facades any longer. More importantly, he felt a responsibility to the emerging generation. These young actors deserve to know the truth, he stated. Even the greatest films are not always born of harmony. Sometimes they arise from conflict, jealousy, and difficult circumstances behind the scenes. The first individual on Duvall's list, Dustin Hoffman, is described as a credit thief who never stopped. The third name on Duvall's unprecedented roster shocked many due to the apparent alignment of their early professional paths. Dustin Hoffman, much like Duvall, began his career as a striving character actor before ascending to leading man status. Dustin and I were struggling actors together in New York, Duvall recalled. We were friends, or at least I thought we were, but friendship meant something very different to him than it did to me. Their connection originated in the early 1960s, when both shared a small apartment in New York City, subsisting on meager means while auditioning for theatrical roles. What began as shared camaraderie gradually transformed into a subtle rivalry. According to Duvall, Hoffman frequently exploited their rehearsal sessions to pilfer his creative concepts. I would dedicate weeks to developing a specific interpretation for an audition, Duvall explained. I'd practice it in our apartment. Then suddenly, Dustin would be called for the same part, and he'd adopt my exact approach, sometimes verbatim. When Hoffman secured the roles, he would inform others that Duvall had inspired him. Duvall dryly commented, "That's a polite term for theft." This pattern, Duvall asserted, persisted even after both actors achieved success in Hollywood. During the production of True Grit in 1969, where Duvall portrayed the outlaw Ned Pepper, Hoffman would frequently contact him, soliciting advice on vocal techniques and character development for Midnight Cowboy, which was filming concurrently. I spent hours on those calls, helping him find Ratso Rizzo's voice, Duvall recounted. Then, I read an interview where he claimed he developed the vocal patterns by observing homeless individuals in New York for months. He never once mentioned our conversations. The ultimate breaking point arrived a few years later, when both actors were contenders for the lead in The French Connection in 1971, a role ultimately secured by Gene Hackman. That was when I stopped taking his calls, Duvall stated. I realized some people never cease taking from others. They simply become more adept at masking it as collaboration. According to production sources who have since corroborated Duvall's account, Dustin Hoffman allegedly ventured beyond mere creative appropriation. During the casting phase for The French Connection, Hoffman reportedly informed director William Friedkin that Duvall was difficult and uncooperative, citing their early theatrical experiences as evidence. This characterization, Duvall believes, cost him the role that could have dramatically reshaped his career. That crossed a line, Duvall remarked, from professional competition to deliberate sabotage. Years later, Duvall confronted Hoffman regarding the rumor. He denied it, Duvall recalled. But I heard it directly from Friedkin himself. Despite the underlying bitterness, Duvall maintained a publicly cordial demeanor with Hoffman for decades, attending the same events, participating in panel discussions, and even offering commendatory remarks about his performances. This veneer of professionalism explains the industry's astonishment. Few suspected the quiet hostility that had simmered between two actors long celebrated as among the finest of their generation. However, if Duvall's confession regarding Hoffman surprised the industry, his subsequent revelation delivered a genuine jolt to the entertainment world, naming an individual whose reputation appeared unassailable. The second name mentioned was Marlon Brando, whom Duvall characterized as the most destructive ego I ever encountered. Duvall elaborated that in Hollywood, exceptional performances do not always stem from amiable relationships. Sometimes they emerge in spite of profoundly strained ones. That's the reality of this business that nobody discusses, he stated with his characteristic bluntness. And with that, he began naming names, sending shockwaves through an industry built on meticulously guarded illusions and polite reticence. The first name he uttered left even seasoned Hollywood insiders dumbfounded. Marlon Brando, the most destructive ego I ever encountered, Duvall declared without hesitation. This was a revelation that rocked the entertainment world, not because Brando was an obscure figure, but because he was Marlon Brando, a man many consider the greatest actor of all time. Duvall did not dispute Brando's brilliance. He was a genius, no question, he admitted. But he was also the most destructive ego I ever encountered in this business, a man who would sabotage entire productions simply to prove he could. Their most significant confrontation occurred during the tumultuous filming of The Chase in 1966, a film now largely forgotten. Despite a cast list that read like a veritable who's who of Hollywood royalty: Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Jane Fonda, and Robert Redford. What audiences remained unaware of was that behind the camera, a psychological battle was unfolding, one that would permanently shape Duvall's understanding of acting and professionalism. Brando would deliberately alter his performance from one take to the next to make editing impossible, Duvall revealed. If he disliked the director's approach, he would intentionally disrupt the coverage of other actors' scenes. He called it protecting the integrity of the performance. I called it professional sabotage. The tension escalated until it finally reached a breaking point during a pivotal monologue, one of Duvall's most crucial moments in the film. According to multiple sources now willing to corroborate Duvall's account, Brando repeatedly disrupted the scene by emitting small, almost imperceptible noises off camera during Duvall's takes. The sounds were subtle enough that only the microphones could detect them, necessitating multiple retakes. After the fifth ruined take, I confronted him, Duvall recounted. What transpired next marked a turning point, not only in his relationship with Brando, but in how Duvall perceived the hidden brutality beneath Hollywood's gilded facade. The initial clash, Brando's enigmatic smile, and Duvall's harsh lesson in cruelty. He just smiled and said, "Maybe you should be stronger in your choices," Duvall recalled, pausing before adding, "That was Marlon. He'd sabotage you, then frame it as your weakness." What makes this revelation particularly astonishing is the complete reversal it imposes on the public narrative of their relationship. For decades, Duvall had cited Brando as an influence, lauding his artistry in countless interviews, even while privately harboring the bitterness of that experience. The two men would later appear in the same cinematic universe again with The Godfather, though notably, they did not share any scenes together, a scheduling choice that, in light of Duvall's confession, now appears far less coincidental than previously assumed. "I learned more from watching Marlon than from anyone else," Duvall admitted. "But what I learned wasn't just about acting. I learned how not to treat colleagues. I learned that genius does not excuse cruelty." It was this complex mixture of admiration and disdain, respect for Brando's extraordinary talent coupled with disgust for his arrogance, that explains Duvall's prolonged silence. But if that initial revelation shocked Hollywood, the second name on Duvall's list proved even more unexpected. The third individual named was James Caan, described as competitive to the point of malice. The second actor Duvall identified struck a particularly deep chord with Hollywood insiders, James Caan, his co-star from The Godfather. Caan's portrayal of the fiery Sonny Corleone became iconic, just as Duvall's calm, calculating Tom Hagen did. Together, they forged what many critics have hailed as one of the most authentic brotherly dynamics ever captured on film. "Jimmy and I created one of the most believable brother relationships in film history," Duvall stated, "and we did it while barely speaking to each other off camera. That's acting." According to Duvall, their tension began early during the initial rehearsals for The Godfather. Both men were vying for prominence within the ensemble. Duvall, renowned for his meticulous preparation and quiet professionalism, found himself repeatedly undermined by Caan's relentless competitiveness. "Jimmy was competitive to the point of malice," Duvall recalled. "He deliberately tried to upstage everyone, especially me. If I had an important line or moment, he'd suddenly start doing some bit of business with his hands or make exaggerated expressions, anything to pull focus." The rivalry reportedly intensified during the now legendary family meeting scene, where the Corleones debate whether to wage war against the Tartaglias. Between takes, Duvall had been quietly discussing Tom Hagen's motivations with director Francis Ford Coppola, when Caan interrupted with a smirk, delivering a dismissive remark about overthinking glorified secretary roles. "That was the moment I decided we would never be friends," Duvall stated flatly. "I also decided that Tom Hagen would always watch Sonny carefully in every scene. It actually helped the performance, because that's exactly what a consigliere would do with a hothead like Sonny. What makes this revelation particularly striking is how convincingly both actors managed to conceal their animosity through decades of public appearances, press tours, anniversary events, and numerous Godfather reunions. In interviews, they exuded warmth and camaraderie, perfectly selling the image of lifelong brothers in arms. "When we were promoting the film, we both understood what was at stake," Duvall explained. "We weren't going to let personal issues damage something that important. So we smiled, told the right stories, and played our parts." He added, "That's also acting." That quiet professionalism, the willingness to protect the work despite deep personal resentment, speaks volumes more about Robert Duvall's integrity than any award could. It also explains how these conflicts managed to remain buried for so long, hidden behind decades of red carpets and rehearsed affection. However, While his clashes with Brando and Caan remained primarily professional, Duvall's third revelation cut far deeper, implying a personal dimension. The fourth name was Robert Redford, identified as the fraud behind the golden image. The final and perhaps most explosive name on Duvall's list belonged to Robert Redford, Hollywood's golden boy, the embodiment of grace, intellect, and integrity. For decades, Redford's image as a thoughtful artist, environmentalist, and champion of independent cinema had remained pristine, virtually beyond reproach. Redford cultivated the perfect public persona, Duvall stated. The serious craftsman, the idealist, the man of principle. But the reality I experienced was something else entirely. Behind that polished exterior, Duvall claimed, lurked a calculating opportunist who viewed crew members as mere furniture and fellow actors as impediments. Their conflict began during the production of The Natural in 1984, in which Duvall played sports columnist Max Mercy, opposite Redford's legendary baseball hero, Roy Hobbs. What should have been a smooth, professional collaboration quickly soured when Duvall observed Redford's treatment of the production team. He would keep entire crews waiting for hours while he prepared, Duvall recalled, not because he was deeply engrossed in character work. He'd be on the phone handling business deals. Meanwhile, everyone else is standing around on salary while the day burns away. That's not artistry. That's arrogance. The atmosphere on set grew increasingly strained, culminating during the filming of their crucial confrontation scenes where personal tension began to seep into the performances, creating an intensity that the camera captured but no one fully comprehended at the time. According to Duvall, Robert Redford's polished image of artistic integrity masked a far more self-serving agenda on set. During the production of The Natural, Duvall alleged that Redford repeatedly pressured director Barry Levinson to reduce his role. He reportedly argued that certain scenes, particularly those where Max Mercy challenged Roy Hobbs's heroic myth, were superfluous to the narrative. It became clear he saw any strong presence opposite him as a threat, Duvall stated. This wasn't about serving the film, it was about ensuring he dominated every frame. The irony was not lost on him. Redford was portraying a character whose image was threatened by a journalist's investigation, while behind the scenes, he was attempting to suppress that same journalist's role in the movie. What particularly incensed Duvall was the hypocrisy of it all, the vast chasm between Redford's public persona as a symbol of collaboration and his private conduct. He'd stand on stage at Sundance preaching artistic purity, Duvall recalled. Then he'd come back to a film set and demand final cut privileges and veto power over other actors' casting. The gap between his image and reality was stunning. The most damning moment, however, occurred during the post-production of The Natural. Duvall confronted Redford directly about his behind-the-scenes maneuvering. What followed, according to crew members who witnessed the exchange, was a remark that Duvall has never forgotten. Redford just looked at me and said, "You're a character actor, Bob. I'm a movie star. We're not playing by the same rules." That moment crystallized everything, Duvall admitted. The fraud behind the golden image, I never looked at him the same way again. This final revelation, perhaps more than any of the others, has sent the deepest shockwaves through Hollywood. Coming from one Robert to another, It has compelled the industry to re-examine not only Robert Redford's meticulously maintained reputation, but the entire mythology surrounding Hollywood's paragons, those golden images that may at last be showing their cracks. The aftermath of Duvall's revelations has sent seismic waves through Hollywood. In the days following his extraordinary interview, the film industry has been engulfed in a mixture of shock, denial, confirmation, and introspection. Representatives for Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford, the only living actors Duvall named, have issued carefully worded statements expressing surprise at his descriptions while underscoring their profound respect for his contributions to cinema. More telling, however, has been a quiet surge of industry insiders coming forward to validate aspects of Duvall's account. Multiple crew members from The Natural have shared similar narratives regarding Redford's on-set conduct. A former assistant director from The Godfather also confirmed the palpable tension between Duvall and James Caan during filming. Even Francis Ford Coppola, while refraining from specifics, acknowledged that the chemistry you see on screen sometimes stems from very complicated personal dynamics behind the camera. More significantly, according to sources close to Duvall, several prominent actors have privately reached out to thank him for articulating sentiments that many have experienced but never felt secure enough to voice. As for Duvall himself, he appears unburdened rather than regretful after breaking decades of silence. In a brief follow-up statement, he clarified that his objective was not to tarnish anyone's legacy, but to rectify a historical record that had been sanitized to the point of fiction. He wrote, "I've given 60 years to this industry and have always treated it with respect. Part of that respect involves being honest about its realities, both good and bad." Duvall emphasized that these were not minor disagreements or fleeting altercations, but sustained behaviors that impacted productions and people's livelihoods. He believes those truths deserve to be part of the historical record, not merely the polished version we have all tacitly agreed to accept as reality. As the entertainment world continues to grapple with these unprecedented disclosures, one question lingers. Does Duvall possess more truths to unveil? His cryptic closing remark in the interview leaves room for speculation. "Those four stood out, but they weren't alone," he stated. "Hollywood has always been more adept at fabricating myths than confronting realities. Perhaps now is the time for the opposite,